Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of Allah, the most compassionate, the most merciful. Allah's peace and blessings be upon the Holy Prophet of Islam, Muhammad, and his immaculate Ahlul Bayt and family. Dear brothers and sisters all around the world, Assalamu alaikum and welcome to another edition from series of Quran and Today's Life. In this series of programs, we're in fact trying to extract some useful and practical points from the teachings of Quran, the Book of Allah. For this purpose, we are trying to have some respected scholars from seminary schools and prestigious Hawza of Qom. Hujjatul Islam Sheikh Qasim, Islamic scholar and Islamic researcher, was our respected guest from some previous sessions, and our discussion was concerning the training points that we may catch from a Quranic perspective. We categorized our discussion for the external important factors, that is family, society, media, and also schooling process or schoolmates that are very influential in one's breeding. We are still working on the first factor, that is family. Different issues should be known and understood by the families, being a good role model based on Quranic teachings, being very respectful to the children, and being kind or trusting children are from among the points that we already pinpointed to. Today, inshallah, we shall continue our discussion with another aspect or with another angle of points that we can catch from Quranic teachings. In fact, benefiting from Sheikh Qasim. Sheikh Qasim, assalamu alaikum and welcome to this show. And if you have any introductory remarks, we will
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, wa bihi nasta'in, wa salatu wa salamu ala Muhammadin wa alihi al-tahirin. It's an honor to be here with you.
Thank you very much. Concerning our discussion that we had previously, we reached to the factor that families should understand respecting their children. In fact, the first one was being a good role model based on Quranic teachings, then trusting children and respecting children. Can you please tell us what is let's say fourth factor, which is very important and should be understood by the families from a Quranic perspective?
Actually, we were in the discussing the fourth issue, the fourth factor, respecting training points with regard to upbringing children. Okay, it was teaching and educating our children Islamic teachings and ethical and moral teachings. And we talked about it a little bit in the last session, and we recited that beautiful verse and shocking and outstanding verse about the privacies that parents have and should teach their children how they should teach their children to be careful about these three privacies that parents have. It was about the mature children, and
there was a difference between the duties that that pre-puberty age of children should know, and the others, those who have reached the age of puberty.
And the difference was this: that the ones who has reached the age of puberty, they have to ask permission when they want to enter their parents' privacy. They have to ask for permission. Okay, in all times. And for the undiscerned, for the ones who has not reached the age of puberty, they just have to ask for permission just for three times. Three times that are the most important ones, that that privacy and the maybe intimate intercourse that parents can have at that times. And I just want to end this characteristic and this pointer with this hadith that is very outstanding hadith. Okay.
Is it concerning the fourth element?
Yes, it is concerning the fourth one, and it's so I don't know what to call it. It's so alarming. Okay, and warns us. It is in the book Al-Kafi in volume 5. Page 500, okay, and it is from Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam. He quotes from the Holy Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam says, when Abi Abdullah alayhi salam قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم والذي نفسي بيده لو أن رجلا غشي امرأته وفي البيت صبي مستيقظ يراهما ويسمع كلامهما ونفسهما ما أفلح أبدا إذا كان غلاما كان زانيا أو جارية كانت زانية.
Yeah.
The Holy Prophet stated by Allah, the Holy Prophet swears by Allah, okay? He says, by Allah, if a man and woman are having intercourse and there is a child in their house, okay, awake, sees them, or hears their voices, or even hears their breasts, okay, even their breasts, he or she will not succeed in his life. This child will not succeed in his life. And be of those who commit al-ayadu billah, fornication. This child will be al-ayadu billah, one of the ones who commits this sin. So we have to be so cautious when it comes to these sorts of intimate relationship between parents, okay? So it is so important. So I just want to wrap it up here. And if you let me, I want to go to the other point that inshallah
I mean, is it just concerning the family and the things that, I mean, the point that family should know in the, I mean,
yeah, it is the fifth one.
Fifth one? Okay, sure.
Yeah. The fifth one is trying to build their personality and characteristic in their early ages. We have to try to build our children's characteristic in their early ages. As I mentioned in some of the sessions, I remember that the first early ages, the first seven early years of one's child is so important because of that 50% that I talked about, and psychologists affirm this idea. And so this one is to how to teach them not verbally. The previous point was to teach them verbally, okay? But this one is to teach them practically and not verbally. We have to build their personality practically. So there are some verses, some beautiful verses with regard to this point. One of them is verse 125, Surah Baqarah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the Prophet Ibrahim and Ismail when they were ordered to rebuild the holy house of Kaaba. Okay, وَأَعْهِدْنَا إِلَى إِبْرَاهِيمَ وَإِسْمَاعِيلَ أَنْ طَهِّرَ بَيْتِي لِلطَّائِفِينَ وَالْعَاكِفِينَ وَالرُّكَّعِ السُّجُودِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered not just Ibrahim alayhi salam, but He ordered his son, okay, Ismail, to rebuild the Kaaba. Okay, so we have to teach them. If you take your child in practice and in society, you are teaching him some aspects of life. You are teaching him some Islamic or religious pointers that could not be even grasped by saying that point. Okay?
Exactly.
So if Prophet Ibrahim brings his son, takes his son with him to build the house of Kaaba, the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Baytullah, he takes with him his son because he wants to teach him practically.
Exactly. I do agree with you, but the point that I want to pose here is that whether these kind of teaching, just like the case that the Prophet Ibrahim had with his son, can be practical and applicable to today's life or not. This is a point that I want you to answer after a very short break, if you don't mind, please. And you, dear viewers, stay tuned with us. Inshallah, we shall be back soon. Welcome back to Quran in Today's Life and our discussion concerning the points that families should know in the process of training their children. In fact, their upbringing process of their children is based on a Quranic perspective. we were talking about the practical teachings that families may have. The respected expert of this program, Sheikh Qasim, was saying that we should learn from teachings of Quran, where the Prophet Ibrahim was teaching his son, Prophet Ismail, how to build or rebuild the house of Kaaba, the house of Allah. The question which was posed then was that, is still this kind of teaching, practical teaching that we see in the behavior of Ibrahim the Prophet, applicable or practical still in this, this industrialized life, in this modern lifestyle that we have chosen for ourselves, or not?
Yeah. Of course it is. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about building Kaaba, it's not talking about a sort of, a constructive action or to construct a building. Mm-hmm. It's about sharing children in acts of worship, because building the house of Allah is a sort of acts of worship. Okay, mm-hmm. So in this time that we live in, okay, now we can do it in this way, that we as role models that we referred to in one of the sessions that we had previously, we as role models have to be practicing Muslims. Okay, so if we are practicing Muslims and we are, for example, caring about Islamic pointers and Islamic teachings, and we involve our children in these sorts of Islamic teachings, they would understand and they would learn this from us, and not just verbally. Okay, I might sometimes say to my son, "Oh son, you have to pray, you have to perform your prayer, you have to fast," but it does not work as much as practicing that acts of worship work. Okay, so I want to complete the answer of your question with this beautiful verse in the Holy Quran. This is in the Surah Insan. Verses, it starts from verse number 7 to verse number 9. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this is with regard to the very beautiful story. Let me tell this story before we get to this ayah. Once upon a time, the Imam Hussein alayhi salam and Imam Hassan alayhi salam, they got sick. Okay, Imam Ali and Lady Fatima alayhim salam, they made a promise to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They vowed and they did a nadhra, okay, that if our children got better and got
cured,
and are cured, we will fast for 3 days. Okay, and it happened. And Imam Hussein alayhi salam and Imam Hassan alayhi salam, they got better and they returned to their health. And when they started fasting and keeping their promise, you know what happened? Imam Hassan alayhi salam and Hussein alayhi salam, who were children at that time, they started fasting as well. Mm. Because they looking at their parents fasting and acting a sort of acts of worship, so they learn that it's a good practice to do. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in this holy verse, يُوفُونَ بِالنَّاظِرِ وَيَخَافُونَ يَوْمًا كَانَ شَرُّهُ مُسْتَطِيرًا ويطعمون الطعام على حبه مسكينا ويتيما وأسيرا إنما نطعمكم لوجه الله لا نريد منكم جزاء ولا شكورا. Those who fulfill their vows and fear the day whose evil shall be diffused far and wide, and fill the needy for the love of Him, feed the needy for the love of Him, and the orphans and the captives, they were saying this: we feed you for the sake of Allah, desiring neither recompense nor thanks. Okay, so involving our children in the acts of worship, it's so important. It's so important to notice. Okay, for parents, not just to tell them what to do.
In fact, it's kind of indirect teaching.
Yes, indirect teaching. Okay, and with regard to this point, I have to say. That there is another point left with regard to this point that I would like to mention, which is explaining to them the reasons if we order, for example, something, or if we forbid them from something. Okay, we do not. If we say to them, "Do not do this," or if we say to them, "Do this," or "You have to do this," it is better to tell them the reasons. And as you might have in mind, it must be tested the addressee again. Okay, we have to test how old is he or is she? And for example, if he's, for example, 5, we can tell him the reason in a way that he would grasp and understand.
There is a kind of, imperative active that we may have with
yes, maybe yes. When we order, for example, our child to do something, it's sort of respecting our children again. In one of the sessions, I remember that I talked about respecting our children. When you order your children, okay, and after directly and immediately after ordering him or her, you say what is the reason, okay? It would be so respecting for your child, even though he might not understand it, okay? When you say, let me just recite to you this beautiful verse from Surah Yusuf, ayah number 5. When Prophet Yusuf told his father his dream, his father says this, قَالَ يَا بُنَيْ لَا تَقْصُصْ رُؤْيَاكَ عَلَى إِخْوَتِكَ. He orders him not to tell this story and this dream
of yours to your brothers.
To your brothers. Mm-hmm. Why? فَيَكِيدُوا لَكَ كَيْدًا إِنَّ الشَّيْطَانَ لِلْإِنسَانِ عَدُوٌّ مُبِينٌ. He said, O son, do not narrate your dream to your brothers, or they will plot against you. Surely Satan is man's acknowledged foe. So when Prophet Ya'qub says to his son, Prophet
right
Yusuf,
after that he says the reason.
Right after that, he says what is the reason, okay? And this is so, I think, so respecting and so educating. Because if you, for example, tell your child that this was the reason that I ordered you not to do this or do this, he learns or she learns that in the coming future or in the coming examples of these sorts of, or in the same consequences and circumstances, what should he do or what should she do? Okay,
exactly.
So he learns or she learns this as well.
That much I think for the points that families should take into account concerning the, upbringing of their children and praying points from Quranic point and this practical sample, as you mentioned. The samples that we may see in the Holy Quran as the Prophet Yaqub was. Now, up until now, you told us what should family do. They should be respectful. They should be a role model. Is there any preventive point here to be said here in this regard? What should we not do? To be acting based on a Quranic sample.
Okay, so because this point, the last point that I had with regard to this point, the practicing points, I would like to sort of give a small summary of what we have discussed so far, and inshallah, I will say that what we're going, inshallah, to discuss here, inshallah, in this series. So we so far we talked about the responsibilities parents have towards their children. First one was being a good role model for our children. Okay.
Sure.
Second one was
to respect them.
To respect them. To respect
and to trust
our children.
them also.
Yeah. And the third one was to trust them.
Sure.
The third one was to trust our children. Okay. And these are the positive points that should be regarded. And we will talk about the negative points as well. And the fourth one was
asking their opinions.
No, this was one of these sub branches of one of these. It was the fourth one was how to teach them verbally the teachings of Islam and the teachings of the Quran and ethical issues and moral issues. Okay, and the last one was the how to treat them and how to teach them and educate them, not verbally but practically. Okay, so this was the sort of overview on all of discussions we had in the previous sessions. And inshallah, we will talk from now on about the pitfalls and about threats that might be on the path of the process of upbringing children. Okay, so the first one, or this first pitfall, and the first important point that we have to care about is the ways that shaitan may interfere in our children. Okay, and we will talk about it inshallah later on. And the second one was the haram provision that fathers might provide their families and their children with. This is so important, and inshallah we will talk about
So these
this.
points should be taken into account by the parents, because
Yeah.
the provision
Yes, of
is
course.
mostly, in fact, will be done by parents, and
Yes.
most specifically by father of
Yeah.
the family.
Okay, yes. And the third one was on practicing parents to be an
What do you mean by our practicing parents?
I mean, we parents, we order our children
While we are not doing
while
the-
we're not doing them, and while we are not practicing the orders or commands that we
So
say
if
to our
we
children.
wish that our children be treated in an Islamic way, or to be brought up in an Islamic way, we should ourselves start from ourselves
practicing
to treat them in an Islamic way.
Yes, exactly. And the last one is discrimination between our children, whether discrimination between girls and boys, or discrimination between
The
one
same-
gender, or maybe, for example, there are two boys that we discriminate for one against the other. And inshallah, we will talk
Inshallah,
about
we
this
shall touch upon all
issue,
these
inshallah.
4 points that you just mentioned concerning the discrimination or provision, and different methods of shaitan that may interfere in the personality of our children in our next session. And inshallah, we shall look at the Quranic solutions to these issues that were just introduced. Sheikh Qasim, once again, I thank you for your accepting our invitation to this show and your scholarly information that provided us with. And you, respected viewers, for joining us up to the end of this show. And inshallah, for sure, we shall continue our discussion concerning the points that families should know based on Quranic teachings in the issue of training and breeding or upbringing of their children. Please follow us in our next programs. Till then, have a very good time. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.